Get ready, because we're going to give the Jurassic franchise the rebirth it deserves. We're going to look at why the latest movie was a mess, why the Jurassic sequels keep sucking, and because I'm feeling optimistic today, I'm going to propose 3 ways to fix the franchise going forward. Now, I don't know if you've all seen Jurassic World Rebirth, but this movie is a kick to the brain. It opens with a prologue where the Distortus Rex murders a throwaway scientist, and from there we get introduced to the main cast. These people are about as memorable as office work, though I'll admit they're an upgrade from Claire and the Raptor Master. You have this greedy pharmaceutical guy who wants to develop a cure for heart disease, and he needs to obtain dinosaur blood on this forbidden island. To make this happen, he hires Black Widow, as well as a goofy paleontologist named Dr. Loomis. It's unclear if he's related to the Dr. Loomis who shot Michael Myers, but he joins Black Widow and her friends as they head off to a forbidden island by boat. If you like boats, good news, because here's another one. This time we get introduced to a random family on vacation who somehow sail within range of the dangerous forbidden island. At this point, the movie turns into Jaws for 15 minutes, then 2 of Black Widow's friends get killed by a Spinosaurus. When one guy dies, the soundtrack tells you you're supposed to feel bad about it, and minutes later, everyone gets shipwrecked on the island. Anyway, after seeing the movie kill off a couple NPCs, you might think that things would get tense aboard this deadly island. But unfortunately, the writers don't want the deadly island to be deadly. For the rest of the movie, nobody of importance dies, and the way these characters survive are just ridiculous. Now, surely the movie will get serious during its finale, right? After all, they introduced the D-Rex as a nasty threat, and it's on all the marketing materials, and its action figure costs $70, so this thing has to push the heroes to their limits and cause all sorts of destruction, right? Well, to its credit, the D-Rex destroys a helicopter containing some NPCs, it murders the evil pharmaceutical guy, and it chases down the heroes during their final escape. It's a thrilling 5 minutes, and just as the heroes are about to get killed, Black Widow's friend Duncan makes a bold move. Having lost his child prior to the events of the story, he now seeks redemption by boldly sacrificing his life to protect everyone, including a little girl. Thanks to his brave sacrifice, they all... Oh, wait, never mind. It's not really a sacrifice because the script goes full Disney and allows Duncan to survive without being harmed. Then the group leaves, Black Widow grows a heart, and everyone aside from the dead NPCs lives happily ever after. Okay, now that we're all up to speed, let's talk about the 3 writing-related issues that I had with Rebirth. The first one is that the script does too little with too much. Specifically, it includes too many characters and too many dinosaurs, all of which feel undercooked. Black Widow, for example, has an empty character arc. What she initially wants is lots of money, but why? She's ex-military, she's got trauma, but while watching the movie, I never got a clear sense of why the money mattered so much to her. Like, how is it going to improve her life? Part of the problem is that early on, we never get to see her in her daily life. Alan Grant also wanted money, but we got to see him in his element, and that helped us understand his motivations for funding his research. That worked, but we don't get that here with Black Widow. It would have helped to see her doing some mercenary work in the opening scenes, but all we get is lifeless dialogue between her and the evil pharmaceutical guy. Later, Dr. Loomis challenges her to sacrifice her payday for the good of humanity, and the internal conflict feels meaningless because, again, why should we care about her getting the money? What are the personal stakes here? Her refusing the money at the end doesn't feel like true growth because I'm not convinced that she's sacrificing anything of value. As for the other members of her group, they exist, they move the plot, and that's it. Duncan could have been interesting if he had been given more screen time or if they made him the main character and explored his personal trauma, but instead he just waits around to make an empty sacrifice at the end. Meanwhile, the vacationing family adds some humanity to the story, but they feel tacked on because the story keeps them separate from Black Widow's group until the very end. We have all these characters, but the script doesn't know what to do with them, and it opts to play things safe rather than experiment. Speaking of playing it safe, that brings us to the dinosaurs. The biggest problem I have with them is that they're these single-serving monsters. None of them acts as a consistent, overarching threat. There's no big bad who repeatedly terrorizes the heroes and makes us dread the next encounter. Instead, each dinosaur gets a short burst of the spotlight, and that's it. Mosasaurus gets 5 minutes, Spinosaurus gets 5 minutes, T-Rex gets 5 minutes, Quetzalcoatlus gets 5 minutes, and so on. The only one that consistently appears throughout the story is an herbivore that the little girl adopts. But as for the actual threats, even the Distortus Rex only makes 2 quick appearances. And this is a problem because the dinosaurs here lack character. They feel less like monsters and more like random obstacles who take turns one after another until the credits roll. Second problem with Rebirth is its lack of identity. The script feels like it was originally written by an edgy teenager who wanted to send ex-soldiers out to this dangerous island. But then some undergrad got the script and said it needed regular everyday people, and then the two writers argued and refused to compromise until we got Rebirth. The story is this weird fusion of a heist movie and a family survival tale, and these parts simply don't gel together. The Black Widow sections remind me of Alien Romulus, where you have a band of friends trying to improve their lives by venturing out to this dangerous location, and that's fine on its own, but when you shoehorn in another story about 4 civilians who somehow stumble into this chaotic situation, everything just feels scatterbrained. The script also missed an opportunity to mix these two groups. Like, you could have had a situation where Duncan babysits the little girl, while Black Widow teams up with the father of the kids, and maybe the two teenagers learn something from Dr. Loomis. I'm just spitballing here, but anything is better than keeping these two groups completely independent. It would have made things much more interesting if we got to see total strangers overcoming their differences and using their individual skills to survive. My third and final major problem with Rebirth is the lack of consequences. I mentioned this earlier, but every major character has enough plot armor to protect a small country. Nobody is allowed to die, everyone escapes danger without injury or consequence, and the entire second half of the movie feels like it's being played on easy mode. Now, to be fair, the Jurassic franchise has never been big on killing off its heroes, but that didn't stop Ian Malcolm from getting injured in the first movie, or Billy from getting wrecked in JP3. In Rebirth, however, the worst thing that happens to these people is their clothes get wrinkled. It makes the characters look lucky, it makes the dinosaurs look brain dead, and it makes the story events feel meaningless. Alright, let's talk about 3 ways to fix this broken franchise. I actually pitched this video idea to my subscribers the other day, and someone said the franchise is beyond fixing. I've heard this all across the internet, but I don't believe it's true. You can still make a great Jurassic sequel, but for it to work, you have to put in some effort and take some risks. First off, it all starts with character, specifically some compelling, worthwhile characters. I'm not saying we need the next Walter White, we just need layered people who are smart, believable, and worth a damn. The original Jurassic Park did many things right, like introducing a unique concept, delivering incredible action sequences, and exploring intriguing themes. But people often overlook the fact that its characters are easily the best in the franchise. Alan, Ellie, and Ian each bring personality and substance. John Hammond executes his reckless dream with charm and passion. His grandkids add humanity. And guys like Dennis Nedry, John Arnold, Donald Gennaro, and Robert Muldoon are more than just monster food. They represent ideas, they act according to believable motivations, and they challenge the key cast members in meaningful ways. The first movie also had the strongest antagonist in John Hammond. Each villain since has been forgettable or generic by comparison, and I can't remember any of them by name other than Dodgson.
Dodgson! Dodgson! We've got Dodgson here! Nobody cares.
And this is a blown opportunity. There's an old saying that a story is only as strong as its villain, and for a Jurassic sequel to work, it needs to start with a worthy antagonist. From there, deliver a tight, dynamic cast. Give us protagonists with flaws or lies that must be overcome. Show what their life is like and how bad attitudes and bad behavior are making them unhappy. Then drop these characters into uncomfortable situations that make us worry for them and root for them. One of the best movies I've seen in recent years is Godzilla Minus One, which is part of a franchise that includes more than 30 sequels. What separates Minus One from all the others is its humanity. It's the one Godzilla movie where we honestly don't care if Godzilla is on the screen because the main character is so compelling. In the opening scene, his cowardly actions cause the deaths of his fellow soldiers, and in the aftermath he deals with guilt, shame, and a death wish. We see him yearning for death while also seeing what he has to live for, and we end up rooting for him to embrace life and give himself a second chance. By comparison, in Jurassic World Rebirth, we don't care about Black Widow because her motivations are shallow and inconsistent. She has history with the military, but it's all info dumped in dialogue, which makes it harder to connect with. And even then, it doesn't have any consistent impact on her character throughout the story. As a result, instead of being invested in her personal journey, we're just hoping to see more dinosaurs. The second way to fix the franchise is by restoring dignity to the dinosaurs. The original movie treated them like the fantastical creatures they are. The herbivores filled us with wonder, while the carnivores filled us with fear. Rebirth actually got the first part right with the scene involving the Titanosaurus Valley, but the carnivores are a complete misfire. The movie simply doesn't allow them to be realistic or deadly, and it leads to silly storytelling. Sadly, this problem has been going on for decades. The Lost World was the first movie to undermine its dinosaurs, and since then, each sequel has found new ways to eliminate the scare factor. The World Trilogy did it the worst by introducing hybrids and trainable raptors, both of which made the franchise feel like it was turning into Pokemon. Rebirth at least tried something new with these mutant dinosaurs, but in the end, what was the point of them? The D-Rex was especially disappointing because ultimately all it is a larger, uglier T-Rex. It kills people and gets distracted by bright lights, but it doesn't bring anything new to the table. It would have been interesting if its mutations led to dangerous outbursts or unpredictable behavior, but the new idea goes to waste. And you know what? If we're being honest, there's no need for hybrids and mutants in the first place. The classic dinosaurs themselves still have the ability to be captivating, and we see this in Rebirth when the T-Rex wakes up. It's an exciting moment and a fresh scenario that could have played out in satisfying ways if the script had any respect for its monsters. Finally, the third way to fix the Jurassic movies is by taking creative risks. More specifically, this means telling the story from a different angle. We've already had a sequel about a fully operational park. We've had movies about dinosaurs terrorizing their island. We've had stories about dinosaurs terrorizing the mainland. All of these stories focus on the big picture ideas of dinosaurs, theme parks, and cloning. And I'd argue that the best way to take the franchise forward is by aiming for something smaller and more intimate. One of the most acclaimed video game stories comes from Telltale's The Walking Dead. It's set in the Walking Dead universe, but rather than trying to tell the same grand-scale story as the comics and the TV show, it opts for a smaller, more personal story about a man teaching an orphaned girl how to survive. This isn't about rebuilding civilization on the larger scale. It's about rebuilding civilization through smaller interactions, and the personal touch led to something deeply emotional while still delivering the horror tropes that the franchise is known for. Jurassic World Rebirth has similar ingredients, but it completely fails to mix them. Rather than creating emotion through character, the story focuses on this miracle drug nobody cares about. Imagine instead if Duncan had to consistently protect the little girl, or if another character had to sacrifice their life to get the drug for a dying loved one back home. Those are simple fixes that could have juiced up the story. Of course, there are also other possibilities for Jurassic sequels. Why not revisit Dominion's wasted premise and build a story around a group of civilians fighting for survival in a dino-infested world? Why not tell a horror story about a single dinosaur breaking loose in a cloning lab and terrorizing the scientists? Why not tell a story about the failed experiments of John Hammond's competitors? There are plenty of different angles, and whatever path the franchise takes from here, I hope the writers learn from the past successes as well as the past mistakes. By shifting the focus toward compelling characters and realistic dinosaurs, half the battle will be won. From there, it's a matter of taking a fresh, inspired approach to weaving science and suspense together. So I hope this helps. Question of the day: what frustrates you the most about the Jurassic sequels? Let us know in the comments section below. Thank you for watching. If you want to support the channel, please pick up a copy of either one of my books and be sure to leave reviews on Amazon. Bad Parts is great if you like small town horror. It's about people trading away their sick and injured body parts in order to get healthy again. And then Entry Wounds is great if you like thrillers. It's about a guy who picks up a haunted gun and he can't put it down till he kills 6 people with it. Also be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Check out my other videos. Maybe even hit that super thanks button. And as always, remember to keep on writing.